They're buried on a ridge nobody visits anymore. Two graves side by side, wildflowers growing so thick you can barely read the stones. James Donovan and Alaina Jenkins Donovan died 30 years apart, but you'd swear they went together. That's how the flowers grow, tangled up like lovers' hands. Folks in Animus Forks used to call them the ghost and the herb witch. Said he could vanish into these mountains like smoke. Said she could cure death itself with nothing but weeds and whispers. Said their love was the kind that burned so hot it scorched the very ground they walked on. Most of that's nonsense. But the truth? The truth is stranger than any legend these mountains ever told. It started in June of 1878 with a bear and a woman who refused to die. 3 days later, James finally appears at the boarding house. It's late afternoon. Alaina's in the clinic with Dr. Morrison when she hears the commotion outside. Raised voices, angry, male. She steps to the window and her blood runs cold. James is in the street. So are 3 sins she recognizes from the surveying company, and it's clear from their body language. This isn't a friendly conversation. That's Donovan's land. One of the surveyors is saying, loud enough for half the town to hear, government records show, I bought it legally. James cuts in. His voice is caused, but there's steel underneath. I've got the deed. A deed from 1875, based on a survey that was never properly registered. That makes it contested territory, which means nothing. I own it. You're trespassing? The surveyor smiles. It's not a nice smile. Mr. Donovan, we're not here to argue property law. We're here to make you an offer. The company I represent is prepared to pay handsomely. For your land, triple its value. You'd be a wealthy man, not interested. You might want to reconsider. We found significant silver deposits on that property. With or without your cooperation, that silver's coming out of the ground. Wouldn't you rather profit from it? James's expression doesn't change. I said no. The surveyor's smile fades. That's disappointing. We were hoping to do this the civilized way. There's a threat in those words, clear as day. James must hear it too. His hand moves toward his belt. Not to a weapon, just a reflex. But the surveyor sees it and his men step forward. That's when Alaina moves. She's out the clinic door before Dr. Morrison can stop her. Into the street. Between James and the surveyors, gentlemen, she says. Her voice is calm, steady. I think you've said your piece. Time to move along. The lead surveyor looks at her. Recognition flickers across his face. You're the herb woman, Jenkins, right? Dr. Morrison's assistant. Yes. Interesting company you keep, Miss Jenkins. His eyes flick to James, back to her. We heard you'd been spending time at Mr. Donovan's cabin, unchaperoned. The town council's very interested in that. Alaina's heart skips, but she doesn't let it show. My whereabouts are none of your concern. Perhaps not. But they might be the council's concern. Especially if you're planning to continue practicing medicine here. It's a threat wrapped in courtesy. Alaina recognizes it for what it is. James steps forward. Leave her alone. Your business is with me. Our business is with anyone who gets in our way. The surveyor tips his hat. We'll be in touch. Think about our offer. It's generous. The alternative won't be. They walk away. The whole town watches. Alaina turns to James. Are you all right? I'm fine. You shouldn't have. What, helped? You're welcome. James looks at her, really looks at her, and something in his expression makes her chest ache. We need to talk, he says quietly. Yes, we do. They walk out of town together. Don't speak until they're on the trail. Away from watching eyes, I heard Edward Whitmore's in town. James says finally, of course he knows. Everyone knows everything in a place this small. He is. The banker from Tennessee, your fiancé, former fiancé. James stops walking, turns to face her. What does he want? Alaina takes a breath to apologize and to offer me a position at a medical college in Philadelphia. Research, publishing. Everything I wanted when I left Tennessee. The silence is heavy. Are you going to take it? James asks. His voice is carefully neutral. I don't know. You should. Alaina blinks. What? You should take it. It's a good opportunity. Better than anything you'll find here, James. This town's already turning against you because of me. The council's threatening your work. And now there's a mining company that's going to make my life hell. You don't need to be caught in the middle. What if I want to be? James's jaw tightens. You don't know what you're saying, don't I? Alaina steps closer. You think I'm some fragile thing that needs protecting? I'm not. I can make my own choices. Then choose Philadelphia. Choose a life that makes sense. Why are you pushing me away? Because I can't. James starts again. Because you deserve better than this. Better than me, Alaina wants to argue, wants to tell him he's wrong. But before she can, they hear it. Hoofbeats, coming fast. 3 riders burst from the trees. The surveyors from town. But they're not here to talk anymore. One of them has a torch. Last chance, Donovan, the lead man shouts. Sell or we make you sell. James pushes Alaina behind him. Get back to town, now. No, Alaina. The riders charge. And everything happens very fast. The first rider swings the torch at James's head. James ducks, grabs the man's arm, pulls him off the horse in one smooth motion. The rider hits the ground hard. The torch goes flying into the grass. Alaina stomps it out before it can catch. The second rider circles around, going for Alaina. James sees it, starts to move toward her, but the third rider blocks him. Fist to James's jaw. James staggers back. And then something happens that Alaina doesn't expect. James freezes, not physically, his body is still there, still moving, still blocking the next punch. But his eyes go distant, somewhere else. Some other time, the rider sees the opening, lands a solid hit to James's ribs. James goes down to one knee. James, Alaina shouts, but he's not there, not really. He's in Denver, 5 years ago, hands around a man's throat, feeling life drain away. She can see it in his face, the memory, the horror, the paralysis. The second rider reaches for Alaina, grabs her arm. Come on, sweetheart, let's go somewhere quiet and talk about. Alaina throws the contents of her herb pouch in his face. Cayenne pepper mixed with ground mustard seed. A mixture she carries for aggressive patients. It burns like hellfire. The rider screams, lets go, clutches his eyes. Alaina doesn't hesitate. She grabs the rope from her basket, the one she uses to bundle plants. Loops it around the rider's ankle, yanks hard. He goes down. The third rider turns toward her. Alaina pulls her derringer, making it at his chest. Touch me, and I'll shoot you somewhere inconvenient. Her voice is steady, even though her hands shake. The rider stops. Looks at James, still on his knees, still lost in whatever hell his memory dragged him to. Looks at his 2 companions, one groaning on the ground. The other is still rubbing his eyes and cursing. This isn't over, he says to Alaina. Tell Donovan the company doesn't take no for an answer. He hauls his companions onto their horses. They ride off. Alaina drops to her knees beside James. James, look at me. You're safe. It's over. James's breathing is ragged, uneven. His hands are clenched into fists so tight. His knuckles are white. I couldn't. He stops. I froze. You could have been hurt, and I'm fine. We're both fine. I was useless. Alaina takes his face in her hands, forces him to meet her eyes. You are not useless. You're human. You have scars. We all have scars. I was supposed to protect you. You protected me by teaching me to protect myself. Every time you showed me these mountains, every time you taught me to read the land, to understand danger, to be careful but not afraid. That protected me. What happened just now? That was me using what you taught me. James is shaking. Alaina can feel it under her hands. I killed a man once, he says quietly. I told you that. But what I didn't tell you is that sometimes I can still feel it, his pulse under my fingers. The moment it stopped, and when violence comes at me now, I'm back there. Frozen, terrified I'll become that man again. You won't. How do you know? Because that man wouldn't have hesitated, wouldn't have frozen. You freeze because you're fighting against becoming him. That's the difference. James closes his eyes. I don't know how to do this. Alaina, how to be with you and keep you safe. Without becoming the thing I hate, you don't have to keep me safe. You have to walk beside me. There's a difference, is there? Yes, they're very close now. Close enough that Alaina can see the gold flecks in his eyes, the scar on his left eyebrow, the way his breath catches when she doesn't pull away. I should go to Philadelphia, she whispers. This is getting complicated. You should. I don't want to. Why not? Because everything I want is right here. James makes a sound somewhere between a laugh and sob. You barely know me. I know enough. You deserve better than a broken man living in wilderness. I deserve to make my own choices. And I choose this. I choose you, Alaina. She kisses him. It's not gentle, not tentative. It's fierce and desperate and full of everything's unsaid. James goes still for half a second, shocked, and then he's kissing her back, his hands coming up to tangle in her hair, pulling her closer like he's been drowning and she's air. When they finally break apart, they're both breathing hard while Alaina says, "That's inconvenient." James laughs, actually laughs, very. "I'm still covered in pepper powder. I don't care." He kisses her again, softer this time, like he's memorizing the shape of her mouth, the taste of her, the way she fits against him. When they pull apart, the sun is setting, and the world is painted gold and red. "Those men are going to come back," James says. "I know, with more men, worse men. I know. You should still go to Philadelphia. I'm not going anywhere. Stop trying to get rid of me." Cups her face in his hands. "I'm not trying to get rid of you. I'm trying to keep you alive. Then we fight together, whatever comes." "You're impossible." "I prefer determined." James shakes his head, but he's smiling. Actually smiling. And Alaina realizes it's the first real smile she's seen. From him, "Come on," she says. "We need to tell the sheriff what happened. And Dr. Morrison. And probably the whole town, because they'll find out anyway. They're going to say I'm corrupting you. Let them. I was corrupted long before I met you." James takes her hand. They walk back to town together, timbers intertwined. And Alaina knows there's no going back now. Whatever happens next, they're in it together. The mining company's owner arrives 3 days later. He comes in a private coach with gilt trim, and 4 white horses. The whole town stops to watch him step down onto Animus Fork's muddy main street. Expensive boots sinking slightly into the muck. He's in his mid-40s, well-dressed, handsome in a polished way. Everything about him screams money and power, and civilized ruthlessness. James sees him from across the street. He goes absolutely still. Alaina notices immediately. "What's wrong?" "That's William Cole," James says quietly. "My old partner from Denver." Elena's stomach drops. "The man you saved?" "The same." Cole spots them. His face lights up with what looks like genuine joy. "James," strides across the street, hand extended. "My God, it's good to see you." James doesn't take the offered hand. "Cole, it's been what, 3 years? You just disappeared. Sold steak and vanished into these mountains. I've been looking for you. I didn't want to be found." Cole's smile doesn't falter, so I gathered. "But I'm glad I found you anyway." His eyes flick to Alaina, and who's this lovely lady? "Alaina Jenkins." Alaina says before James can answer. "Dr. Morrison's assistant, charming, and clearly important to my old friend here." Cole's expression is warm, friendly. Nothing about him seems threatening, which somehow makes Alaina trust him less. "What do you want, Cole?" James asks. "Can't a man visit an old friend?" "Not when that man owns a mining company. That's been harassing me for weeks." Cole's eyebrows rise. "Harassing? Is that what my surveyors have been doing?" "James, I apologize. They were supposed to make you an offer, not threaten you. They did both. Then they exceeded their authority. I'll have words with them." Cole's expression serious. "But James, the offer itself is real and generous. That land you own, it's sitting on one of the richest silver deposits. In Colorado you could be a wealthy man. I don't want to be a wealthy man. You wanted to be once. We both did. That's why we worked those claims in Denver. That was different. I was different." Cole studies James for a long moment. "You saved my life, James. That cave-in in '73. I'd be dead if you hadn't come in after me. And then you gave me your stake, walked away with nothing so I could have everything. I owe you more than I can ever repay." "You don't owe me anything." "I do, and that's why I'm here. To give you a chance at the fortune you should have had. Sell me the land. I'll pay you triple its value. You and Miss Jenkins here can go anywhere you want. San Francisco, New York, Paris even. You'd never have to worry about money again." Alaina can feel James's tension beside her, can feel the weight of the choice Cole's offering. A crowd has gathered. Half the town is watching this conversation, listening. That's a generous offer, someone murmurs. More money than any of us will see. In a lifetime. Cole hears it, smiles. It is generous, because I'm grateful, and because I want my friend to finally have the life he deserves. He looks at Alaina. Your lady friend would want for nothing. No more frontier medicine, no more risking her life in the wilderness. She could have comfort, safety, respect. It's a smart play. Alaina has to give him that. He's not just offering James money. He's offering her everything she's supposed to want. As a woman, surety, civilization, an end to struggle. But James knows her better than that. No, James says. Cole blinks. I'm sorry? No, I'm not selling. Not to you. Not to anyone. James, be reasonable. I left that life for a reason, Cole. The money, the mining, the greed that turns men into monsters. I'm not going back. You're choosing poverty? For what? Trees and rocks. I'm choosing peace. Cole's mask slips just for a second. Alaina sees something cold flash across his face before the friendly expression returns. I see, Cole says quietly. That's disappointing. I'm sure you'll survive the disappointment, will I? Cole's smile is thin now, sharp. James, you're not thinking clearly. You have feelings for this woman, I understand that, but sentimentality isn't a business strategy. I'm not running a business. No, you're running from one, from responsibility, from the real world. Cole's voice hardens. I came here prepared to make you rich, to repay the debt I owe you. But if you're going to throw that back in my face out of some misguided notion of nobility, then we have a problem. We don't have anything. My land, my choice. Cole stares at James for a long moment. The friendly mask is completely gone now. You're making a mistake, he says. That land sits on federal territory. Your deed is from 1875, based on a survey that was never properly filed. My lawyers say it's contested, which means the government could revoke it, and if they do, I'll be first in line to buy it legally. Then I guess we'll see what the lawyers say. Yes, Cole says softly. We will. He turns to the crowd, raises his voice. I want everyone here to understand something. I'm not the villain in the story. I'm offering your neighbor a fortune, enough money to lift this entire town, but he's refusing out of pride. So when this gets ugly, and it will, remember who chose this path. He tips his hat to Alaina. Miss Jenkins, I hope you know what you're getting into. Then he climbs back into his coach and rides away. The crowd murmurs. Alaina can hear the whispers. All that money. Turned it down flat. Is he crazy? James takes Alaina's hand. Come on, let's get out of here. They walk to the edge of town. Neither speaks until they're alone. He's going to fight you for this land. Alaina says, I know. He might win. Probably, James. I meant what I said. I'm not going back to that life, even if it means losing everything. Alaina looks at him, at the stubborn set of his jaw, the determination in his eyes. Then we fight, she says, whatever it takes. James pulls her close, kisses the top of her head. You're sure? Because once we start this, there's no backing down. I've never been more sure of anything. They stand together, watching the sun sink behind the mountains, and both of them know the real war has begun. The old man appears at dawn. Alaina is at James's cabin. She's been spending more time here lately. The town knows. Mrs. Peterson gave her a look that could peel paint. The council sent a letter reminding her of proper behavior. Alaina burned it. She's making coffee when James goes tense by the window. Someone's here, he says quietly. Alaina looks out. An elderly man is walking up the path. He moves slowly but with purpose. His hair is long and white. His face is weathered like old leather. And there's something about the way he carries himself that speaks of authority. Ute, James says, elder. By the look of him, they step outside. The old man stops a respectful distance away. Raise one hand in greeting. James Donovan. He says his English is accented but clear. We need to talk. I'm listening. The elder's eyes move to Alaina. Stud her. And you are the plant woman, the healer, Alaina Jenkins. I am called Tall Bear. I speak for my people regarding these lands. James nods slowly. Would you like to come inside? I have coffee. Coffee would be good. They sit at James's small table. The tension is thick enough to cut. Alaina pours coffee, waits. Tall Bear sips his coffee, sets down the cup. I have watched you for 3 years, James Donovan, since the day you came to this mountain, since the day you built this cabin, on land you bought from the white man's government. I have a legal deed, James says carefully. Yes, a piece of paper. That says you own what was never the government's. To sell. The words hang in the air. James goes very still. The hidden valley, that valley and these mountains, sacred ground. Our healers gathered medicine there for 10 generations. Our dead are buried in these rocks, and your government sold it like meat at market. Alaina's stomach sinks. She looks at James. His face has gone pale. I didn't know. James says quietly, I believe you. We have watched you. You take only what you need. You leave offerings by the creek, tobacco, cornmeal. You walk these lands with respect. That is why we allowed you to stay. Allowed? Your paper means nothing to us, but we saw your heart, saw you choose peace over violence, saw you honor the land, so we accepted you as caretaker, not owner. Tall Bear's expression hardens. But now the mining men come, the ones who see only gold and silver, who would tear open the earth and poison the water and destroy everything sacred. They will not honor this land. They will rape it. I won't let them, James says. How will you stop them? With your paper, they have papers too. With your guns, they have more. With your laws? Tall Bear shakes his head. The white man's laws protected nothing. When they wanted our land before, they will protect nothing now. Alaina leans forward. What if the land belonged to your people legally, officially? Both men look at her. What if James gave the land back? She continues, deeded it to the Ute Nation. Then the mining company would have to fight you, not him. And you have treaty rights, federal protection. Tall Bear's eyes narrow. You would do this? He asks James. Give up your claim? James is quiet for a long moment. Alaina can see him thinking, processing. Finally, he speaks. That land was never mine, not really. I bought it thinking I was starting clean. Turns out I was just taking something that belonged to someone else. So yes, I'll deed it to your people. Publicly, make it official. And what do you ask in return? Permission to stay, to live on this mountain as a guest, not an owner, to protect the valley alongside your people. Tall Bear studies James. The silence stretches. And the plant woman, he asks, she will also stay? If she wants to. Tall Bear turns to Alaina. Our women know the medicine plants the old ways. Would you learn from them? Share what you know. Alaina's throat is tight. I would be honored. Tall Bear nods slowly. Then you are both accepted, not as owners, as guardians. The valley will protect you if you protect it. He stands. Bring your paper to the trading post in Silverton. 3 days. Our agent will witness the transfer, and when the mining men come with their lawyers, they will find the land belongs to people. They cannot bully. He pauses at the door. You are good people, both of you. The land knows this. That is why it brought you together. Then he's gone, walking back into the forest like a spirit. James and Alaina sit in silence. You just gave away your land, Alaina says finally. I gave away a lie. That land was never mine to own. What if the Ute Nation decides they don't want you? You'll have nothing. James takes her hand. I'll have you. That's not nothing. Alaina's eyes sting James. That's assuming you stay, he says quietly. Edward's offer is still on the table. Medical school, recognition, everything you wanted. Stop trying to push me away. I'm not. I'm giving you a choice, a real one. Stay here with a man who just gave away his only asset. Or go to Philadelphia and build the life you deserve. Alaina stands, paces to the window, looks out at the mountains. Do you want me to stay? She asks. That's not fair. Answer the question. James is quiet. When he speaks, his voice is raw. Yes, God help me. Yes, I want you to stay. I want to wake up with you in my bed and spend my days showing you these mountains, and my nights learning every part of you. I want to build a life here that matters. With you. He stands, comes to stand behind her, close but not touching. But I won't ask you to give up your dreams. For me, if you need to go, I'll understand. I'll even help you pack. Alaina turned to face him. What if my dreams changed? Did they? I came to Colorado to escape, to find somewhere I could use my knowledge without being diminished, and I found that, but I also found something I didn't know I was looking for. She takes his hand, places it over her heart. I found a partner, someone who sees me as I am and doesn't ask me to be smaller, someone who trusts me to make my own choices. Even when he's terrified I'll choose wrong. Alaina, I'm staying, James, not because you asked me to, because I want to, because this is where I belong. James pulls her into his arms, holds her so tight she can barely breathe. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. They stand there, wrapped in each other, while the morning sun climbs higher, and the mountains stand witness to their choice. Outside in the forest, Tall Bear watches from the ridges, satisfied the land has chosen well. The week after the land transfer, Alaina starts to notice the changes in herself, small things at first. She catches herself asking James's opinion before making decisions, deferring to his knowledge even when she knows the answer, softening her words to avoid disagreement. All the things she swore she'd never do again. It terrifies her. One morning she wakes up in James's cabin. She's been staying here more nights than at the boarding house, and realizes she hasn't been to check on her patients in 3 days, hasn't studied her grandmother's journal, hasn't done anything but orbit around James Donovan like he's the sun and she's a planet, with no will of her own. She sits up. James is still asleep beside her. In the morning light he looks younger, peaceful. His hand is stretched out toward her side of bed, like even in sleep he's reaching for her. Alaina's chest aches. She loves him. She knows that now. Loves him with a fierceness that scares her. But she's losing herself, and that scares her more. She slips out of bed, dresses quietly, leaves a note on the table. Gone to town. Back later. She doesn't wait for him to wake up. Mrs. Peterson is on the porch when Alaina arrives. It's barely past dawn, but the older woman is up, already watching. "Welcome back," she says, dry. "I was beginning to think you'd moved out entirely. I'm sorry I've been." "In love?" "Yes, I noticed." Mrs. Peterson's expression softens slightly. "Come inside. We need to talk." Over coffee, Mrs. Peterson lays it out plain. "The town council met yesterday. They've decided you can't practice medicine here any more, unless you marry, properly, in a church, with witnesses." Alaina's hands tighten on her cup. "They can't do that. They can, and they did. I fought for you, dear. So did Dr. Morrison. But we're outvoted. Too many people think you're compromised. Because I love a man who lives alone in the mountains? Because you're living with him without marriage. It's different. It shouldn't be, I agree, but that's how it is." Alaina sets down her cup. "What if I don't marry? Then you leave or you stop practicing. Those are your choices. And if James and I do marry," Mrs. Peterson's expression is complicated, "then they'll allow it grudgingly. But Alaina, are you marrying him because you want to, or because they're forcing you to?" It's a good question. Alaina doesn't have a good answer. She spends the day seeing patients, the ones who still trust her. There aren't many. But she does what she can. Dr. Morrison finds her in the clinic that evening. "You look exhausted," he says. "I am." "Mrs. Peterson told me about the council's decision." "Of course she did." Dr. Morrison sits down with a sigh. "For what it's worth, I think they're wrong. You're the best wild heel I've seen. Your marital status shouldn't matter." "But it does." "Yes, it does." He pauses. "Are you going to marry him?" "I don't know." "Do you love him?" "Yes. But I'm terrified that loving him means losing myself, and I swore I'd never let that happen again." Dr. Morrison is quiet for a moment. "My wife died 15 years ago, cancer. Nothing anyone could do. And in those last months I had a choice. I could stay distant, protect myself from the pain of losing her, or I could give her everything I had, knowing it would destroy me when she was gone. What did you choose?" "I chose her every day, and when she died it did destroy me." For a while he meets Alaina's eyes. "But I'd make the same choice again, because loving someone fully, even knowing you might lose them, or lose yourself, is better than the alternative, which is living half a life out of fear." Alaina feels tears prick her eyes. "What if I lose myself anyway? then you'll find yourself again. That's what strong women do. That night Alaina walks to James's cabin. He's on the porch waiting, like he knew she'd come. We need to talk, she says, I know. Inside, she tells him everything. The council's ultimatum, her fear. The way she's been changing without meaning to, James listens without interrupting. When she's done, he's quiet for a long time. I never wanted to be the thing you ran from, he says finally. If being with me means losing who you are, then we can't do this, James. I mean it. I won't be the man who makes you smaller. I'd rather lose you than become that. Alaina's throat is tight. What if I don't know how to be with you and still be myself? Then we figure it out together. But Alaina, you have to want to figure it out if you're having doubts. I'm not doubting you, I'm doubting me. James takes her hands. Then let's start there. What do you need? To feel like yourself. Alaina thinks. My work, my patience, my studies. Then keep them, all of them. I won't ask you to give up anything. The town says I have to marry or leave, so marry me or don't. Either way. You stay. We'll figure out the town later. You'd marry me just to satisfy the council? No, I'd marry you because I want to spend my life with you. The council's just convenient timing. Despite everything, Alaina laughs. That's possibly the worst proposal I've ever heard. James smiles. Want me to try again? No, I won't. She stops, breathes. I want to stay. I want to be with you. But on my terms, I keep my work. My name goes on any research we publish, and we make decisions together, not you for me. I wouldn't have it any other way, and I need time before we marry. To figure out how to be Alaina Jenkins with James Donovan, not just James Donovan's wife. Take all the time you need. Alaina searches his face, looking for resentment, control, the signs she learned to watch for in Edward. She finds none of it, just patience and love, and a man willing to wait for her to find her way. Okay, she whispers. Okay, they don't make love that night, just hold each other. And in the morning, Alaina wakes up feeling more herself than she has in weeks. The choice is hers, the life is hers. James is just the man lucky enough to walk beside her, and that, she thinks, is exactly how it should be. The next day, something unexpected happens. Mrs. Peterson calls a meeting. Not the town council, a different meeting. In the boarding house dining room, every woman in Animus Forks is invited. Alaina arrives to find 20 women gathered. Miners' wives, the school teacher, the woman who runs the general store, even some of the women who canceled their appointments. Mrs. Peterson stands at the front of the room. Ladies, she says, we have a problem. The council has decided that Miss Jenkins cannot practice medicine unless she marries. They say her living arrangements are improper, that her reputation is compromised. She pauses. I say, that's horseshit. A few women gasp. Most nod. Alaina Jenkins has saved more lives in 6 months than any doctor we've had in years. She's treated our husbands, delivered our babies, nursed our children through fevers, and we're going to let a bunch of men tell her she can't work because she loves someone? What do you propose? Someone asks, I propose we tell the council that if they force Miss Jenkins out, we stop cooperating. No more cooking for council meetings. No more washing their clothes. No more nursing their injuries. Let them see how well they manage. Without the women of this town. The room is silent for a moment. Then the school teacher stands. I'm in. So am I, says a miner's wife. One by one the women stand. By the end all 20 are on their feet. Mrs. Peterson looks at Alaina. You saved my niece last winter, pneumonia. The doctor said there's nothing he could do. You sat with her for 3 days, gave her teas and poultices. She lived. I don't forget things like that. Alaina's eyes are stinging. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to face the council. That meeting happens 2 days later. The council convenes in the general store. 5 men, all miners or businessmen, all convinced they know what's best for everyone. They're in the middle of discussing Miss Jenkins when the door opens, and 20 women walk in, led by Mrs. Peterson. Gentlemen, she says, we need to talk. The council chairman looks irritated. This is a closed meeting, Mrs. Peterson. Not anymore. We're here to discuss the ultimatum you gave Miss Jenkins. That's council business. It's our business when you're trying to run off. The only competent healer this town has. Miss Jenkins's living arrangements are improper. By whose standards? Yours? By common decency. Common decency. Mrs. Peterson's voice is sharp. Let me tell you about common decency. Last month, Tom Crawford's daughter had a cough. You remember that? The chairman shifts uncomfortably. Miss Jenkins treated her. Pneumonia saved her life. 2 months ago, Bill Henderson's arthritis was so bad he couldn't work. Miss Jenkins gave him willow bark and devil's claw. Now he's back in the mines. Should I go on? That's not the point. That's exactly the point. You're so worried about propriety, you're willing to sacrifice lives for it. One of the other council members speaks up. We're just saying she should marry properly. We have no objection to Mr. Donovan. How generous of you, Mrs. Peterson says. But here's the thing. When she marries, and who she marries, is none of your damn business. What is business is keeping this town healthy, and you can't do that without her. The women behind her nod. The chairman looks at them, realizes he's outnumbered. What are you proposing? I'm proposing you withdraw your ultimatum. Let Miss Jenkins practice medicine on her own terms, and if we don't, then we stop doing everything we do. That keeps this town running. You think you can manage without us? The silence is heavy. Finally, the chairman sighs. Fine, the ultimatum is withdrawn. Miss Jenkins can continue practicing. He pauses. But if there are any complaints about impropriety, any at all, we reserve the right to revisit this decision. Fair enough, Mrs. Peterson says. The women file out. Outside, Alaina grabs Mrs. Peterson's arm. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep saving lives. That's all the thank us I need. Mrs. Peterson smiles. Besides, I like you, child. You've got spine. This town needs more women with spine. That night, Alaina tells James what happened. He listens, then shakes his head in amazement. 20 women faced down the council for you. They did. You've built something here, Alaina, a community. We built it together. She takes his hand. I'm staying, I've decided, not because the council withdrew their ultimatum, but because this is where I want to be. With these people, with you. James puts her close. I love you, you know that. I know, I love you too. Even when you're trying to protect me. From myself. I'll work on that. Please don't, it's part of why I love you. They stand on his porch, watching the stars come out, the mountains silent around them. And Alaina knows with absolute certainty that she's made the right choice. William Cole returns to Animus Forks 2 weeks later. This time he doesn't come alone. He brings lawyers, land surveyors, county officials, and a judge from Denver who owes him favors. The whole town gathers in the street to watch. Cole steps up onto the porch of the general store. Improvised stage. He's dressed like he's going to the opera, not standing in a mining camp at 11,000 feet. Folks, he calls out, his voice carries. I want to talk to you about your future. Alaina watches from the clinic window. James stands beside her, jaw tight. That valley land James Donovan claims to own? Cole continues. It's sitting on the richest silver deposit in Colorado, maybe in the entire West. There's enough wealth there to transform this town. New buildings, better roads, a real hospital instead of a clinic, schools, everything you need to thrive. The crowd murmurs, interested. But James Donovan won't sell. He's transferred the deed to the Ute Nation, claims it's sacred ground. Cole's voice drips with contempt. Sacred, while your children go without proper schools, while your sick die from preventable diseases, while you break your backs in dangerous mines, for wages that barely keep you fed. He's good, Alaina murmurs. He's a snake. James replies. Cole spreads his hands. I'm not asking much. Just for James to do the right thing. Convince the Ute to sell, or cede his guardianship so someone else can negotiate. In return, every family in this town gets a share. Real money, enough to change your lives. He pauses, lets it sink in. The question is, are you going to let one man's stubbornness keep you all in poverty? The crowd shifts, uneasy, tempted. James moves toward the door. Alaina grabs his arm. Wait, let me, Alaina. Trust me. She steps outside before he can argue, walks into the street. Every eye turns to her. Mr. Cole makes a compelling argument, she says. Her voice is steady, clear. He's offering you wealth, prosperity, a better life. Who wouldn't want that? Cole smiles, thinks she's on his side. Alaina keeps talking, but he's not telling you everything. That valley he wants to mine? The water there feeds the creeks you drink from. The plants there treat your illnesses. Mine that land and you poison the water, destroy the medicine. For what? Silver. That'll be gone in 10 years? We'll be rich in 10 years, someone calls out, will you? Or will Mr. Cole be rich while you're still breaking backs, in his mines? Still breathing dust that'll kill you by 50? Still living in shacks while he builds mansions in Denver? Alaina turns to face Cole directly. You talk about doing the right thing. But the right thing for who? For this town or for your investors? Cole's smile fades. Miss Jenkins, you're hardly qualified to lecture on economics. No, but I'm qualified to tell you what happens when you poison a water source, when you destroy medicinal plants, when you let greed override common sense. She looks at the crowd. I've treated 37 men in the last 6 months. Infections, broken bones, lung disease. You know what saved them? Plants from that valley, water from that creek. Take that away, and the next time someone gets hurt, they die. We'll bring in doctors, Cole says. With what medicine? The kind that takes 6 months to reach us? Half spoiled by the time it arrives? I've seen men die waiting for that medicine. Seen children burn with fever while their parents prayed for help that came too late. She turns back to the crowd. Mr. Cole is asking you to trade your future for his profit. Don't do it. The crowd is quiet now, uncertain. That's when Dr. Morrison steps forward. Miss Jenkins is right. I've practiced medicine for 30 years, and I've never seen anyone with her skill for healing. She's saved lives I couldn't save, with plants, with knowledge, with respect for this land. Mrs. Peterson joins him. I've lived in mining towns my whole life. I've seen what happens when the companies move in. They take everything and leave nothing but poisoned ground and broken people. One by one, others step forward. The miners Alaina treated, the families she helped. They form a line between Cole and James. She saved my arm. One man says, wanted to cut it off. She used plants and poultices and prayers. Still have my arm. She delivered my daughter. A woman adds, breech birth would have killed us both. She knew what to do. She's worth more than your silver, someone else says. Cole's expression hardens. You're all fools, choosing poverty out of sentimentality. We're choosing to keep what matters, Dr. Morrison replies. That's when Tall Bear appears. He walks into the center of the street. Like he materialized from air, behind him a dozen Ute men and women, all dressed formally, all carrying documents. William Cole, Tall Bear, says, you speak of ownership, of rights, of laws. He holds up a document. This is the treaty your government signed in 1868. It recognizes our sovereignty over these lands. That valley you want. It is ours by law, by blood, by right older than your nation. Cole's lawyer steps forward. That treaty has loopholes, disputed boundaries. We can challenge. Challenge in court, Tall Bear says calmly. We have lawyers, too. Good ones, who work for justice, not money. You will lose, and it will cost you everything. He looks at the crowd. James Donovan gave us back what was stolen, not because he had to, because it was right. That is honor. That is strength. Not this. He gestures at Cole. This is just greed dressed in fine clothes. Cole's face flushes red. You careful, James says quietly. He's moved to stand with Tall Bear. You're on Ute sovereign territory now. Their laws apply, and they don't take kindly to insults. Cole's jaw works. He's trapped, and he knows it. This isn't over, he says finally. Yes, James replies. It is. You lost. Not because you were wrong about the silver. You were right about that. But because you forgot that some things matter more than money. Like what, love? Cole spits the words. Sentiment, please. You're a fool, James. You always were. Maybe, but I sleep at night. Can you say the same? Cole stares at him. Something like pain flashes across his face. I saved your life once, and I saved yours. Or even, I offered you everything. You offered me nothing I wanted. Cole shakes his head. turns to his people. Pack up, we're leaving, as the lawyers and officials scramble to their horses. Cole pauses, looks back at James one last time. You could have been someone, he says quietly. I am someone, James replies, just not who you wanted me to be. Cole rides away. The whole town watches in silence. Then someone starts clapping, slow at first, then faster. Then everyone joins in. Applause filling the mountain air. James looks uncomfortable with the attention. Alaina takes his hand. You did good, we did good, he corrects. Couldn't have done it without you. Tall Bear approaches. The valley is safe for now. But there will be others like him always. Then we'll face them, Alaina says. Together Tall Bear nods approving. You are good guardians, both of you. He pauses. When will you marry? James and Alaina look at each other. She raises an eyebrow. Soon James says, If she'll have me, I suppose I could fit it into my schedule. Alaina replies. Tall Bear smiles, actually smiles. Good, we will bless the union. Make it official in both worlds. He walks away, the crowd disperses. Slowly life turns to normal. James and Alaina stand in the street, still holding hands. Did we just win? Alaina asks. I think so. That was anticlimactic. I expected more violence. James laughs, sorry to disappoint. No, I prefer it this way. She squeezes his hand. Ready to go home? More than ready. They walk out of town together, up into the mountains, toward the cabin, toward the life they're building. Behind them, Mrs. Peterson watches from her porch. Smiling. About time, she murmurs. About damn time. That evening, the whole town celebrates. Not just the victory over the mining company, but the fact that they stood together, that they chose community over quick money, that they protected what mattered. The boarding house opens its dining room. Towels are pushed together. Food appears. Someone brings a fiddle. Someone else a guitar. Music fills the air. James is reluctant at first, unused to crowds, to celebration, but Alaina pulls him into the room. Just for a little while, she says, then we can go home. Dr. Morrison raises a glass to James Donovan and Alaina Jenkins, who reminded us what's worth fighting for. The room erupts in cheers. James shifts uncomfortably, but Alaina squeezes his hand. Let them celebrate. They earned it. Mrs. Peterson approaches with 2 plates of food. Eat, both of you. You look half-starved. Thank you, Alaina says, for everything you did. I didn't do it for you, Mrs. Peterson says, but her eyes are warm. I did it because it was right. Still, we're grateful. Mrs. Peterson nods. Just promise me something. When you do get married, you'll let me help with the dress. Alaina laughs. I promise. The celebration goes late into the night, but eventually James and Alaina slip away, walk up the mountain path under stars, the music fading behind them. That was nice, Alaina says. It was. I'm glad we stayed. Me too, but I'm gladder we're leaving now. Alaina laughs. They reach the cabin as the moon rises. Inside, James builds a fire while Alaina makes tea. The simple domesticity of it makes her chest warm. This is what she chose. This life, this man, this quiet home, and she's never been more certain of anything. James proposes on a ridge overlooking the valley. It's sunset 3 weeks after Cole left. The sky is on fire with color, gold and red and purple bleeding into each other. They're sitting on a flat rock, watching the day end. Alaina's head is on James's shoulder. His arm is around her waist. Marry me, he says. No preamble, no speech, just 2 words. Alaina lifts her head, looks at him. That's it? That's your proposal? Would you prefer something fancier? I would prefer something that acknowledges what you're asking. James turns to face her fully, takes both her hands. Alaina Jenkins, I have nothing to offer you but a cabin that's too small, a life that's too hard, and a man who's too broken. But I'm offering you my whole heart. Every piece of it, even the damaged parts. He pauses. I'm offering you a partnership. Not because I need you to complete me, but because I want to walk through this life beside someone who sees me as I am and chooses me anyway. Better, Alaina says. Her eyes are shining. I'm offering you freedom. Keep your work, your name, your choices. I won't ask you to be smaller. I'll only ask you to be you. Keep going. I'm offering you these mountains, these plants, this valley, a life of purpose and struggle and moments like this. where everything feels exactly right. James's voice drops. So yes, marry me, not because the town demands it, not because it's convenient, but because I love you, and because I think you might love me too. Alaina is crying now, not sad tears, happy ones, you think? I hope you're right, I love you, against my better judgment, despite my fears completely. Is that a yes? On one condition. Name it. We do this as equals, partners. I keep my work, my independence. And you promise me that if I ever start losing myself, you'll tell me, I promise. Then yes, I'll marry you. James kisses her. Long and deep and full of promise. When they break apart, the sun has set, stars are beginning to appear. The whole universe feels like it's watching. When? James asks. Soon, before winter, before I change my mind. You won't change your mind, probably not, but let's not risk it. They marry 3 weeks later. Dr. Morrison performs the ceremony. There's no church in Antimus Forks, but they don't need one. They marry on the ridge, under open sky, with half the town watching. Alaina wears a dress Mrs. Peterson helped her make, deep blue wool, simple but beautiful. James wears new clothes from the general store. Uncomfortable, but he endures it for her. Tall Bear blesses the union in Ute tradition, speaks of earth and sky and balance between them, speaks of partnership and respect, and walking the same path while remaining whole. When it's done, when James kisses his bride, and the town applauds, Alaina feels something settle in her chest, like a door closing on one life and opening on another. They have a celebration at the boarding house. Music and dancing and food. James is stiff at first, unused to crowds, but Alaina pulls him into a dance and whispers, "Just a few more hours, then we can go home." Home, James repeats, testing the word. I like how that sounds. So do I. They leave before midnight. Ride double on James's horse up into the mountains. Behind them the party continues. Ahead of them the cabin waits. Their cabin now, their home. The moon is full when they arrive, turning everything silver. James lifts Alaina down from the horse, holds her for a moment before setting her down. Are you happy? He asks. I've never been happier. Good, that's all I want. For you to be happy. They go inside. James builds up the fire while Alaina lights lamps. The cabin glows warm against the night. I have something for you, James says. He goes to a chest in the corner, pulls out a book, hands it to Alaina. She opens it. Her breath catches. It's blank, every page empty. But the cover is beautiful, hand-tooled leather with her name embossed. For your research, James says, to document the plants, the treatments, everything you're learning, so it doesn't get lost. Alaina's eyes sting. James, this is perfect. You said you wanted to write a book someday. Well, now you can. She sets the book down carefully, takes his face in her hands. I love you so much it scares me sometimes. Good. That means you're doing it right. They make love for the first time as husband and wife, slow and tender and full of joy. And when they finally fall asleep, wrapped in each other, the mountains stand guard outside, ancient and wise, sheltering the family being born inside these walls. The years that follow are not easy. There are harsh winters where snow piles deep. They can't leave the cabin for weeks. There are patients Alaina can't save, despite all her knowledge. There are moments when James's past rises up, and he has to fight his way back, but they face it together. Alaina becomes the finest healer the region has known. She trains other women, teaches them the old plant knowledge, mixed with what she learned from her grandmother. Eventually she writes a book, a comprehensive guide to medicinal plants of the Colorado high country. It becomes a standard reference for frontier doctors. James expands the cabin, adds rooms, builds a barn, starts keeping chickens and a garden, becomes the quiet guardian of the valley, working with the Ute to protect sacred lands from anyone who would exploit them. In the spring of 1879 their first child is born, a son. They name him Jacob, after James's brother. The birth is difficult, but Alaina knows what to do, knows how to breathe through the pain, knows which herbs to use. James is there the whole time, steady and calm, catching his son when he finally arrives. Emma comes 2 years later, then Joshua 3 years after. The cabin fills with noise and laughter and the chaos of family life. The mountains echo with children's voices. The valley becomes their classroom, their playground, their inheritance. James teaches them to track and hunt, and read the weather. Alaina teaches them plants and healing, and how to respect the land. The children grow up wild and free and competent, able to survive anything. The years pass, silver and gold. James's hair goes gray, then white. His body slows, but his mind stays sharp. Alaina's hands grow arthritic, but she still gives plants, still heals, still teaches. They grow old together, slowly, gracefully, two trees that bent toward each other, until their branches intertwined. Their children grow and leave and return. Jacob becomes a negotiator, helping establish legal protections for sacred lands throughout Colorado. Emma becomes a doctor, combining traditional medicine with plant knowledge, writing books that change frontier health care. Joshua maps the entire region's medicinal plant locations, creating records that help preserve knowledge for generations. The grandchildren come, then the great-grandchildren. The cabin that once housed just two becomes the heart of a growing family network, the place everyone returns to for holidays and celebrations. And simple Sunday dinners. James and Alaina watch it all, watch their legacy grow beyond anything they imagined. One evening when James is 70 and Alaina is 67, they sit on their porch watching sunset. "We did good," James says. "We did, no regrets. Not one." Alaina takes his hand. "You gave me everything I didn't know I needed. You gave me the same." They sit in comfortable silence, listening to the wind in the pines, the distant sound of their grandchildren playing. "I'm tired," James says after a while. "I know." "Me too. But it's a good tired, the best kind." James dies in his sleep 3 months later. Alaina is holding his hand. She feels the moment his breath stops, the moment his spirit leaves, and she sits there in the darkness, holding his still warm hand, and thanks God for every day they had. The grizzly finds her in the high meadow just after noon. Alaina Jenkins is kneeling among the wildflowers when she hears it, a grunt, low, wet, close enough that she feels the sound. She freezes. Her grandmother's voice comes to her across 2 years. "Don't run, never run. They're faster than you think." Alaina's hand is still on the arnica stem. Her basket sits 3 feet away, half full of plants, yarrow for wounds, wild mint for fevers, osha root that took her an hour to find. The bear grunts again. Slowly, so slowly her muscles scream. Alaina turns her head. The grizzly is maybe 20 feet away, male old scars on his muzzle, one ear torn half off from some ancient fight. He's massive, 800 pounds easy. He stares at her with small dark eyes. No curiosity, no aggression, just the cold calculation of a predator deciding, is she worth the effort? Her knife is on her belt. Useless against 800 pounds of muscle and teeth. Her fire kit is in the basket. 3 feet away, might as well be 3 miles. The bear takes a step forward, testing. Alaina's heart hammers so hard she can feel it, but she doesn't move, doesn't scream. She's 23 years old, came to Colorado 6 months ago to escape. She'll be damned if she dies here. The bear takes another step. That's when the voice comes from the trees, deep, calm, the kind of calm that only comes from experience. "Don't move." Alaina's eyes flick right. There's a man at the edge of the clearing, tall, broad-shouldered, rifle in his hands. He's not aiming it at the bear yet, just watching. "Who?" She starts. "Quiet," the man says, not harsh, just firm. "He's deciding if you're prey or competition. Don't give him an answer." The bear swings his head toward the man, considers him, then back to Alaina. "There's sage in your basket," the man says. His voice hasn't changed, still unnaturally calm, dry bundle. "Can you reach it without standing?" Alaina's hand moves toward the basket. Slow, the bear's eyes track the movement. "That's it," the man says. "Get the sage and your fire kit. You're going to light it. Bears hate the smell of burning sage." He'll back off. Probably. If he doesn't, I'll shoot him. But I'd rather not waste the bullet or bear. Alaina's fingers find the sage bundle, then the fire kit. Her hands are shaking, but she gets the flint out, strikes once. Nothing. Twice. A spark catches the dry sage. Smoke curls up thick and sharp. The bear snorts, steps back. Stand up now, the man says. Slow. Hold the sage out. Start backing toward me. Don't turn around. Don't run. Alaina stands. Her legs feel like water, but they hold. She extends the smoking bundle like a torch. Steps backward, once, twice. The bear watches but doesn't follow. 10 steps, 20. The man is beside her now, rifle still ready. Eyes on the bear, not her. Keep walking, he says. They reach the tree line. The bear huffs once, dismissive, ambles off toward the creek. Elena's knees give out. She sits down hard on a fallen log. The sage bundle still smoking in her hand. Her whole body is shaking now, adrenaline crashing through her like a fever. The man lowers his rifle, looks at her for the first time, really looks. His eyes are the most startling green she's ever seen, like new pine needles in spring, like something growing where you didn't expect life. You're on private land, he says. Alaina blinks at him. She nearly died 60 seconds ago. This is what he's leading with. I didn't see any markings, she manages. That's because I don't mark it. I don't want visitors. Well, Alaina says, voice sharper than she intends. Congratulations. You've got one anyway. The man's mouth twitches. Not quite a smile. You're the herb woman from Animus Forks. It's not a question. Alaina straightens. My name is Alaina Jenkins. I know who you are. People talk. You saved a miner from amputation last month. Used plants instead of a saw. He still has his arm, Alaina says. So yes, you almost didn't have yours just now. I had it under control. The man stares at her. Then he does something unexpected. He laughs. It's a short, rough sound, like he's out of practice. But it's genuine. You had nothing under control, he says. That bear would have killed you. Probably not eaten you. Not this time of year, but killed you? Absolutely, Alaina wants to argue. Can't because he's right? Why didn't you just shoot it, she asks. The man's expression shifts. Something complicated passes through those green eyes. Because you looked like you were handling it. I was wrong, but I try not to kill things unless necessary. There's a weight to how he says it, like there's a story there's. Alaina files it away. Thank you, she says, for not letting me die. Don't thank me. Just stay off my land. He turns to go. Wait, Alaina says. I need the plants here, the arnica, the osha root, the ones that grow at this elevation. The town needs them. Men are dying from infections that could be prevented. The man stops and turns around. That's not my problem. It could be. You live up here alone, I'm guessing. What happens if you get hurt? Get sick? Who's going to help you? Now he does turn, looks at her with something like curiosity. You offering? I'm saying we all need each other eventually, whether we like it or not. The man studies her. She can see him measuring her, the dirt on her knees, the plant stains on her fingers, the way she still holds the sage bundle. What's your name? Alaina asks, he states. Like telling her is giving away too much. James Donovan. Well, Mr. Donovan, I'm coming back to gather plants. You can shoot me if you want, but you won't, because you don't kill things unless you have to. James Donovan's mouth twitches again. Definitely not a smile. But something close. You're either very brave or very stupid, he says. I prefer determined. He shakes his head, turns, and disappears into the trees so quietly she barely hears. Alaina sits on the log for another 10 minutes, waiting for her hands to stop shaking. Then she goes back into the meadow, retrieves her basket, finishes gathering her plants. The bear doesn't come back, but she has a feeling James Donovan will. They bury him on the ridge. The whole valley comes, their children and grandchildren, the Ute people, the town they served for so long. Tall Bear, old now but still strong, speaks the blessing. He was a good man, a good guardian. The land will remember him. Alaina scatters arnica and yarrow on the grave, the first plants they gathered together, the beginning of everything. She lives 2 more years, keeps working, keeps teaching. But everyone can see she's fading, not from illness, from loneliness, from missing the other half of herself. One September morning she tells Emma she's going to gather plants. I'll come with you, Emma offers. No, I need to do this alone. Emma watches her mother walk into the forest. Something in her face says she knows. Now this is goodbye. Alaina makes her way to the hidden valley. Her legs are old, and the climb is hard. But she knows these trails better than her own name. The valley is exactly as she remembers. Crystal Creek, stone walls, plants growing in profusion. She sits beside the water, the same spot where James first showed her this place, where she fell in love without realizing it. She pulls plants from the ground one last time, carefully, respectfully, fills her basket with arnica and osha root and valerian. When the basket is full, she sets it aside down in the grass, closes her eyes, listens to the creek, the wind, the birds, and smiles. They find her the next morning, peaceful, still smiling, her basket carefully packed beside her. They bury her next to James' same ridge, same view, and if you go there now, you'll see two headstones, weathered by time but still standing, surrounded by wild flowers that grow nowhere else in Colorado. Colors so vivid they seem impossible. James Donovan, Alaina Jenkins Donovan, the ghost and the herb witch, the mountain man and the woman who knew every plant, the partnership that changed a valley, a town, a way of life. Their children carried on the work. Jacob's negotiations helped establish protections for sacred lands throughout the West. Emma's medical texts are still used today. Joshua's maps preserved knowledge that would have been lost. The valley remains protected, sacred, a testament to what happens when people choose respect over greed. And sometimes the old-timers say, if you go to that ridge at sunset, you can still see them, two figures walking together through the wildflowers. The man tall and broad-shouldered, the woman with a basket over her arm, gathering plants, talking quietly, laughing. Together, always together. The story is done now, the legend complete. But the truth remains, written in wildflowers and mountains stone, and the lives they touched. Some love stories end, this one just changed form. And that, the mountains remember, is what love does when it's built on partnership and respect. And two people choosing each other every single day, it doesn't end. It just becomes part of the land itself, eternal, like the mountains, like the wildflowers that bloom where they're buried, like the memory of a woman who knew plants, and a man who knew peace, and together they knew everything that mattered in the high country of Colorado, where the air is thin and the peaks touch heaven. The story of James Donovan and Alaina Jenkins is told, not as legend, but as truth, the kind of truth that reminds us why we believe in love at all, the kind that shows us possible. When two people choose partnership over possession, when they value each other's strength instead of fearing it, when they build something together that outlasts them both. The graves on the ridge stand witness. The wildflowers bloom, and the mountains remember. Animas Fork sits in a valley that shouldn't exist, 11,000 feet above sea level, surrounded by peaks that still hold snow in June. The town clings to the mountainside like a prayer, barely 100 souls, most of them miners, all of them chasing silver in the rock, hoping to God the next tunnel doesn't cave in. The town has one main street, mud when it rains, dust when it doesn't. There's a general store, a saloon, a boarding house, and a building that serves as everything else, doctor's office, assay office, occasional church. Alaina reaches town just before sunset, her basket heavy with the day's gathering. Her legs ache from the climb down. Her heart still hasn't quite settled from the bear, but she's got what she needs. That's what matters. Mrs. Helen Peterson is on the boarding house porch. She's a broad woman in her late 50s, gray hair pulled back in a bun so tight, eyes that miss nothing. "You're late," Mrs. Peterson says, not accusatory, just stating fact. "I went higher than usual," Alaina says. "The good plants are up where the air thins." "You went alone again. I always go alone." Mrs. Peterson's lips thin, but she doesn't argue. She's been trying to convince Alaina for 6 months. Hasn't worked yet. "Dr. Morrison was asking for you," Mrs. Peterson says. "There's a man with a broken leg. Infection setting in." Alaina's already moving toward the door. "How long?" 3 days since the break. 2 since the fever started. Not good, but not hopeless either. Alaina drops her basket in her room. Small, clean, the bed barely big enough for one, but it's hers. She paid for it with her own money. There's a trunk at the foot holding everything. A spare dress, her grandmother's journal, and at the very bottom, wrapped in cloth, the engagement ring she left behind in Tennessee. She doesn't look at the ring, hasn't since she packed it. She grabs her medical kit instead. A leather satchel filled with tinctures and salves, and heads to the doctor's office. Dr. James Morrison is 62, thin as a rail, the only formally trained physician within 50 miles. He's also nursing a broken leg from a collapse, which is why Alaina's been handling most medical calls. The patient is a miner named Jack Sullivan, mid-30s, good man, 3 kids back in Missouri. His leg is splinted, but the break is bad. Bone shattered just below the knee. The flesh around it is hot and red, beginning to smell. Alaina doesn't waste time. She cleans the wound with yarrow and golden seal tincture, packs it with pure, unprocessed honey, the kind that kills infection better than medicine. Then she makes a poultice of comfrey and plantain, plants that pull poison out, help bone knit back together. Jack Sullivan grits his teeth through all of it, doesn't cry out. Miners learn early that screaming doesn't help. How long? He asks when she's done. 2 weeks before you're walking, Alaina says. 4 before you're working. If you follow my instructions, don't do anything stupid. And if I don't follow your instructions, then you lose the leg or die, whichever comes first. Jack nods, accepts it. That's another thing miners learn. You take what life gives you. Don't complain. Dr. Morrison watches from his chair by the window. When Alaina finishes, he gestures for her to sit. You're better at this than I am, he says. You're better at surgery, maybe, but plants, infections, fevers? You've got an instinct I'll never have. Your grandmother taught you well. Alaina feels the familiar ache. She did. Dr. Morrison studies her. I heard you went past the tree line. News travels fast in a town this small. I needed OSHA route, Alaina says. Can't find it lower down. That's dangerous country. Bears, mountain lions, men from the camps who might not be gentlemen. I can handle myself. I'm sure you can, but I'd sleep better if you took someone, or at least told people where you're going. Alaina doesn't mention James Donovan, doesn't mention the bear, doesn't mention that she's planning to go back. I'll be careful, she says instead. Dr. Morrison sighs. Now's he's not going to win this argument. You're stubborn, Miss Jenkins. I prefer determined. He smiles at that. Your grandmother's granddaughter, through and through. Alaina stands. I should get back. Mrs. Peterson will have dinner ready. One more thing, Dr. Morrison says. There was a letter for you today. Came on the supply wagon. Alaina's stomach drops. From where? Tennessee. She doesn't reach for it. Dr. Morrison pulls it from his desk drawer, holds it out, can see the handwriting on the envelope. Neat. Precise. Edward's handwriting. She takes the letter. Thanks. Dr. Morrison walks back to the boarding house, the letter burning a hole in her pocket. Mrs. Peterson has dinner laid out, stew and bread, 4 other boarders, all miners. All too tired from their shifts to talk. They eat in silence, grateful for the food and warmth, grateful they survived another day underground. Alaina excuses herself early, goes to her room, sits on the bed with the letter. She doesn't open it. Instead, she walks to the small stove, lights a fire, and feeds the letter to the flames without breaking the seal. Whatever Edward Whitmore has to say, she doesn't want it. That life is over, done. He chose this path. She's not looking back. But as she watches the paper curl and blacken, she can't help wondering what he wrote. If he's angry, if he's hurt, if he's moved on, if he's coming to find her. She pushes the thought away, goes to bed, and dreams of green eyes and bears, and mountains that go on forever. Alaina waits a week before going back. It's not because she's scared, she tells herself. It's because she needs to let things settle, let the bear move to other territory, let James Donovan forget about the woman who trespassed. But when she wakes up Tuesday morning, she knows today she's going back. The town needs more arnica, needs OSHA root, needs the plants that only grow where air thins. She packs her basket, her knife, her fire kit. This time she also brings a small pistol, a derringer, 2 shots. Not much use against a bear, but it makes her feel better. Mrs. Peterson watches her leave. Doesn't say anything, just shakes her head, like she's already planning Alaina's funeral. The climb takes 2 hours. Alaina's legs are stronger now than when she arrived. 6 months of mountain trails will do that. But she's still breathing hard at the tree line. The meadow is exactly as she left it. Wildflowers in bloom, creek running clear, no bear, and James Donovan sitting on a fallen log waiting. Alaina stops. She's not sure what she expected. Maybe that he wouldn't be here. Maybe that he'd changed his mind about caring. But there he is, rifle across his knees, eyes on her, like he knew exactly when she'd come back. "You're trespassing again," he says. Alaina crosses the meadow toward him, sets her basket down. "You were waiting for me, was I? Don't play games. You knew I'd come back." James tilts his head, maybe. "Or maybe I just like sitting in this meadow, do you?" "Not particularly. The mosquitoes are terrible. Alaina can't help it." She smiles. "Just a little? Then why are you here?" James stands. He's taller than she remembered, broader, the kind of man who could snap her, but moves like he's trying not to take space. "Because you're going to keep coming back," he says, "whether I like it or not, and I'd rather you didn't die on my land. It would be inconvenient. I'd have to bury you, or explain to the town why I didn't." Eliza shakes her head. "You're a strange man, Mr. Donovan, James, and you have no idea." He gestures to her basket. "Show me what you're here for." It's not a request, it's a test. Alaina recognizes it immediately. He wants to see if she knows her business, or if she's just a fool playing at healing. Fine, she can pass his test. She kneels, starts pulling plants from the meadow, names each one as she goes. Arnica montana, for bruising to inflammation. Never take it internally in large doses. It'll poison you. But as a salve, it has no equal. She moves to the next cluster, yarrow. Stops bleeding, fights infection. You can chew the leaves in an emergency, but the tea works better. Another plant, wild mint, fever, digestive trouble. Calms the stomach when nothing else will. She keeps going. Osha root, monk's hood, valerian, elderberry. James watches in silence. When she's done, she looks up at him, satisfied. He crouches down beside her, picks up one of the plants in her basket. This isn't yarrow. Alaina's heart sinks. She looks closer. He's right. It's water hemlock. Looks almost identical to yarrow if you're not careful. But one heals and the other kills. "Damn," she whispers. "You would have poisoned someone," James says. But his voice isn't cruel, just matter of fact, I know. Alaina takes the hemlock out, sets it aside carefully. "Thank you." James is quiet for a moment. Then, "You can learn. That matters more than knowing everything." Something in Alaina's chest loosens. She doesn't know why his approval matters. Doesn't know why this stranger's opinion carries weight. But it does. "There are places higher up," James says, "where the plants grow stronger. Better soil, better water. If you're serious about healing, you should see them." Alaina looks at him. "You'd show me?" "I'd rather you not stumble around and fall. Also inconvenient. You could just tell me where they are. I could. But you'd get lost. These trails aren't marked." Alaina considers this. Going deeper into wilderness with a stranger is dangerous. Stupid. Even Mrs. Peterson would have a fit. Dr. Morrison would give her a lecture. But the plants he's talking about could save lives. Could make the difference between keeping an arm or losing it. Between a child surviving a fever or dying. "All right," she says. "Show me." James nods, stands. Offers her a hand up. When Alaina takes it, his palm is rough, warm as sun-heated stone. There's something electric in the touch, something that makes her pulse jump. She pulls her hand back quickly, picks up her basket. Doesn't look at him. "Lead the way," she says. They climb for an hour. James sets the pace, not fast but relentless, the kind of steady that eats up miles. Alaina keeps up barely. Her breath comes harder the higher they go. The air gets thinner, colder. But she doesn't complain. James doesn't talk much, make it out landmarks. Occasionally, a lightning-struck pine. A rock formation that looks like a sleeping bear. A creek crossing where the stones are spaced right. "You walk these trails a lot," Alaina says, during one brief rest. "Every day, sometimes twice." "Why?" James shrugs. "Keeps me sane." There's a story there, too. Alaina wants to ask but doesn't. She's starting to understand that James Donovan only shares what he wants to share when he wants to share it. The fling will just make him shut down. They climb higher. The trees change. Pines give way to aspens. Trunks white as bone, leaves trembling in the wind. Then even the aspens thin out, replaced by low scrub and hardy grasses that somehow survive at this altitude. And then they round a bend. Alaina stops breathing. The valley opens up before them like a secret, sheltered on three sides by sheer rock walls, fed by a creek running crystal clear. But it's the plants that make her heart race. She can see at least a dozen species, some rare, some common, but growing in such profusion that she could harvest generously without harm. Osier root, arnica, monkshood, valerian, echinacea. This is incredible, she breathes. Found it 3 years ago, James says. Was tracking an elk, followed it up here. The valley's hidden from below, protected from the worst weather, growing seasons short this high. But what grows here is strong. Alaina sets down her basket, kneels beside the creek. The water is so clear. She can see every pebble on the bottom. She cups some in her hands, drinks. It tastes like snow and stone, and something indefinable. The water runs over limestone, James says. Keeps it pure. The plants that grow here are the best I've found anywhere in these mountains. Why are you showing me this? James is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is careful, like he's admitting something he doesn't want to. Because you know what you're doing, and because those miners need help, I've got no use for mining myself. But I don't want to see men suffer. He pauses. But I want your word. You don't share this location with anyone else. These groves are prissed because nobody knows they exist. I want them to stay that way. You have my word, Alaina says immediately. I take only what I need. I never strip a location bare. Good. Alaina starts to work, moving from plant to plant with focused efficiency. She talks to herself as she goes. A habit from her grandmother, naming plants, making mental notes. About quantities and conditions, James sits on a boulder and watches her. She's aware of his eyes on her. It should make her uncomfortable. But somehow it doesn't. There's no leer in his gaze. No possessiveness. Just curiosity. Like he's trying to figure her out. You should see this in late July, James says. After a while, the columbines bloom then. The whole valley turns red and yellow. Alaina looks up. I'd like that. The words are out before she thinks. Before she realizes what she's implying. That she wants to see him again, that she wants him to bring her back. James catches it too. Something shifts in his expression. Not quite a smile, but warmer than she's seen yet. You can come here whenever you need to. I'll draw you a map, so you can find it on your own. That's generous. It's practical. Can't have you dying on my mountain. Inconvenient, remember? Alaina smiles. Right. Inconvenient, but they both know that's not the real reason. The sun is starting to sink. When Alaina finishes, her basket is full. Her hands are stained green from plant sap. Her back aches from bending and kneeling, but she feels satisfied, in a way that has nothing to do with plants. We should head back, James says. Takes an hour to get down. You don't want to be on these trails dark. Alaina looks at the sky. He's right. The shadows are already long and getting longer, but then she looks at where they are. At the valley, at the distance they climbed. Your cabin, she says. You said it's near here? James goes very still. About an hour east, closer than town. Yes, Alaina takes a breath. This is a bad idea. She knows it's a bad idea, but the alternative is hiking 2 hours in darkness. Risking a fall, risking another bear, risking things she can't predict. Could I? She starts, stops, tries again. Would it be possible? Stay at your cabin? Leave at first light. The silence stretches. James is looking at her with an unreadable expression. You know what people will say, he finally says. If anyone finds out, I know. It'll ruin your reputation. I'm aware. Dr. Morrison will give you a lecture. Mrs. Peterson will give you a look that could strip paint off a wall. She's very good at those looks. James shakes his head, but when he speaks his voice is gentle. You can have the bed. I'll sleep on the floor. I can handle myself if you try anything, Alaina says. Her hand moves unconsciously to the knife at her belt. James's mouth twitches. I know you can. That's not why you're here. Then why am I here? James meets her eyes. Those impossible green eyes that seem to see through her. Because sometimes the smart thing and the safe thing aren't the same thing. And you're smart enough to know the difference. He picks up her basket without asking. Come on. It'll be full dark in an hour. Alaina follows him out of the valley, into the trees, along trails only he knows. And when she catches her first glimpse of his cabin, through the pines all logs, stone chimney, glass windows that must have cost a fortune to haul, she realizes she's crossed more than just a physical boundary. She's crossed into James Donovan's world, and something tells her there's no going back. The cabin smells like coffee and wood smoke when Alaina wakes. She sits up, disoriented for a moment. The bed is softer than hers at the boarding house. The blanket is wool, heavy and warm. Through the window she can see pine branches moving. Beyond them, mountain peaks touch with pink. Then she remembers where she is, whose cabin this is, what she's done. James is at the stove, his back to her. Ca's already dressed, hair damp like he's washed. He moves around the small kitchen with easy efficiency, the kind that comes from taking care of yourself. Coffee's ready, he says without turning around. Breakfast in 5 minutes. Alaina swings her legs out of bed. She's still wearing yesterday's dress, wrinkled now and smelling faintly of plant sap. Her hair has come loose from its braid. She must look a mess. James sets a cup of coffee on the table, still doesn't look at her directly, like he's giving her space to wake up, to get her bearings, to decide how she feels about all this. Alaina appreciates it more than she can say. She drinks the coffee. It's strong and bitter, and exactly what she needs. James puts a plate in front of her. Eggs from chickens he must keep somewhere nearby. Bread that's a day old but still good. Butter, honey. They eat in silence. It's not uncomfortable. That's the strange part. Sitting here in morning light with a man she barely knows, having spent the night in his cabin, should feel wrong, scandalous, dangerous. Instead, it feels easy. I should get back, Alaina says finally, before the whole town wakes up, realizes I didn't come home. James nods. I'll walk you to the ridge. You can find your way from there? I can find my way. But he walks with her anyway, down through the trees, along trails that seem less intimidating in daylight. They don't talk much. What is there to say? When they reach the last ridge above town, James stops. You should go alone from here, he says. People will talk if they see us together. People will talk anyway. They will. But there's no point in making it worse. Alaina turns to face him fully. The morning sun is behind him, turning his hair to dark gold at the edges. His eyes are steady on hers. Thank you, she says, for the plants, the books, the shelter, for everything. When will you need to gather again? The question catches her off guard. Not if, when. A week, Alaina says. Maybe 2. Some of these plants are best harvested at different times. James nods slowly. I'll meet you at the meadow, where we first met, mid-morning. We can go to the valley together. You don't have to. I know I don't have to, but I will. There's something in his voice, something that makes Alaina's heart beat a little faster. She wants to say something more, wants to acknowledge the thing forming between them, the connection that neither quite understands yet, but she doesn't have the words, so instead she just smiles, small but genuine. And James's expression softens in response. Go on, he says quietly. Before Mrs. Peterson sends out a search party, Alaina turns and makes her way down, into the valley, into the town, into the consequences of her choice. Behind her, James watches until she disappears among the buildings. Then he turns back toward his mountain, already counting the days until he sees her again. Mrs. Peterson is on the porch when Alaina arrives. It's barely past dawn, but she's already up, already waiting, arms crossed over her chest, lips pressed thin. Miss Jenkins. She says cool, formal. Not good, Mrs. Peterson. You weren't in your room last night? No, ma'am. May I ask where you were? Alaina could lie, should lie probably, but she's never been good at it, and she's not about to start now. I went too far into the mountains yesterday. It got dark. I stayed at a cabin rather than risk the trails." Mrs. Peterson's eyes narrow. "Whose cabin? Does it matter?" "It matters very much." Alaina holds the older woman's gaze. "I was perfectly safe. Nothing inappropriate happened, and I got the plants I needed." "Plants?" Mrs. Peterson says the word "like it" tastes bad. "You risked your reputation for plants. I risked my reputation to help people who are sick." "Yes." Mrs. Peterson shakes her head. "You don't understand how this works, Miss Jenkins. You're not in Tennessee any more. This town is small. People talk, and once they start talking, they don't stop. Let them talk. It's not that simple. You're a young woman, unmarried. Your work depends on people trusting you. If they think you're improper, they won't let you near their families. Then they're fools, perhaps, but they're fools who pay your rent. That hits home. Alaina's savings from her grandmother won't last forever. She needs the money people pay her for healing. Needs it to live, to buy supplies, to keep doing the work that matters." "What do you suggest I do?" Alaina asks. Mrs. Peterson's expression softens slightly. "Be more careful. Take an escort when you go into the mountains, and for heaven's sake, don't spend the night at strange men's cabins." "He's not strange." The words slip out before Alaina can stop them. Mrs. Peterson's eyebrows rise. "Oh, I mean I know who he is. James Donovan. He owns land in the high country. He's not dangerous." "How do you know that?" "Because he could have let me die when I encountered a bear. And he didn't." Mrs. Peterson closes briefly. "A bear. I had it under control. I'm sure you did." Mrs. Peterson sighs, opens her eyes, looks at Alaina with something that might be fondness mixed with exasperation. "You're going to give me gray hair, child. You already have gray hair. More gray hair, despite everything." Alaina smiles. Mrs. Peterson shakes her head, but there's warmth now in her eyes. "Go, clean yourself up. Dr. Morrison was looking for you earlier. Another patient." Alaina heads inside, but as she climbs the stairs to her room, she can hear the whispers starting already. Two miners on the landing. They stop talking when they see her, but she catches the tail end of it. Whole night. Donovan's cabin. Didn't think she was that kind of woman. Alaina keeps walking, head high. Let them think what they want. But Mrs. Peterson was right about one thing. The talking has started, and it's not going to stop. By midday, two patients have canceled appointments. Mrs. Crawford, who was supposed to bring her daughter in for a persistent cough, and Mr. Henderson, whose arthritis Alaina's been treating with devil's claw root and willow bark. Both send messages through their husbands. "We'll see Dr. Morrison instead, thank you." Dr. Morrison finds Alaina in his office, staring at the empty appointment book. "Don't take it personally," he says. "How else should I take it? Small towns are like this. Give them a week, they'll forget, will they?" Dr. Morrison sits down with a grunt. His leg is healing, but still pains him. Probably not. But they'll get sick enough eventually that they'll need you anyway. Pride only lasts until someone's in real pain. That's cynical, that's practical. He pauses. "For what it's worth, I don't care where you spent last night. You're the best healer I've seen in 30 years. Your personal life is your business. Thank you, but Alaina," Dr. Morrison's voice goes serious, "be careful. This town can be kind, but it can also be cruel, especially to women who don't follow the rules." Alaina nods. She knows he's right, has known it since she left Tennessee. The world isn't fair to women who make choices, but she's made hers anyway, and she's not going back. The mining company men arrive that afternoon, 3 of them well-dressed for a frontier town. 2 well-dressed, city clothes, expensive horses. They tie up in front of the general store, and the whole street seems to take notice. Alaina watches from Dr. Morrison's window. "Surveyors," Dr. Morrison says. "They've been around for a week or so, poking around the high country, taking measurements. What are they surveying?" "Mineral deposits, I'd guess. Looking for the next big strike." One of the men catches Alaina's eye through the window, tips his hat, smiles. It's not a friendly smile. She steps back from the window. "I don't like this," she says. "Neither do I." "But there's nothing illegal about surveying. They've got government permits. Whose land are they surveying?" Dr. Morrison shrugs. Anyone's, everyone's. That's how it works. If you don't have a legal deed, the government considers it open territory. Alaina thinks about the hidden valley, about James's cabin, about the mountains he calls his own. Does he have legal deeds? Or does he just live there and hope? She has a bad feeling she knows the answer. Alaina doesn't see James for 3 days. She keeps busy, treats the patients who still trust her, makes salves and tinctures from the plants she gathered, studies the books James loaned her by lamplight. But she thinks about him more than she wants to admit. On the 4th day, she can't stand it any more. She hikes up to the meadow where they met. He's not there. She waits an hour, 2. The sun moves across the sky and shadows lengthen, and James Donovan doesn't appear. Alaina tells herself she's not disappointed, tells herself it doesn't matter. She's a terrible liar. On the 5th day, he's waiting when she arrives. "You came yesterday," he says, not a question. "How did you know?" "I saw your tracks. You waited a while. I needed more arnica. Did you?" Alaina crosses her arms. "Are you going to tell me to leave again?" "No." James stands from the log where he's sitting. He looks tired, like he hasn't been sleeping well. "I'm going to tell you why I left civilization. 3 years ago." That's not what Alaina expected. "You don't have to." "I do. Because if we're going to keep meeting like this, you should know who you're dealing with." James is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is careful, like he's picking each word with precision. "I worked the Denver camps from 70 to 75, made a decent stake, nothing huge, but enough to live on if I was careful. Had a partner, good man, William Cole. We watched each other's backs, kept each other honest." He pauses, looks out at the mountains instead of her. "In 73 there was a cave-in. Cole was inside. I went in after him, pulled him out before the whole thing collapsed. He'd have died if I hadn't." "That was brave," Alaina says. "It was stupid, but it worked out." James's jaw tightens. "After that, Cole thought I was some kind of hero, kept trying to repay me. I told him to forget it. We were partners. That's what partners do." "What happened?" "One night there was a dispute. Claim jumpers, 3 of them trying to take our stake. By force. Cole wanted to fight. I said we'd get the sheriff. But the jumpers didn't wait for the law." James's hands curl into fists. Alaina can see the memory playing out behind his eyes. "One of them had a knife, went for Cole. I didn't think. Just moved. Got between them. And when the man came at me, he stops, takes a breath. I killed him." Alaina goes very still. "Self-defense," James continues. His voice is flat now, emotionless. "Sheriff agreed. Witnesses agreed. It was clean, legal. I didn't break any laws, but I killed a man. Put my hands around his throat and squeezed until he stopped moving, and the whole time I was doing it, there was a part of me that enjoyed it." The silence stretches. Alaina doesn't know what to say. Doesn't know if there's anything to say. "That's when I knew I had to leave," James says quietly, "because I'd found something in myself I didn't like, didn't want to find again. So I sold my stake to Cole, gave him my half, bought this land legally from the government, and I came up here to live quietly, peacefully, to be someone different than the man who could kill, without hesitation." He finally looks at her. "I told you that story because you should know. I'm not harmless. I'm not safe. I'm a man who's done violence, and might do it again if pushed hard enough. And if you're smart, you'll walk away right now." Alaina considers this. Considers him, the way he moves so carefully, the way he tries not to take up space, the way he didn't shoot the bear unless necessary. "You're not that man anymore," she says finally. "How do you know?" "Because you've been alone for 3 years. No law up here, no witnesses. You could be anyone you wanted, do anything you wanted, and you chose to be gentle. That tells me more than one bad night 5 years ago." James shakes his head. "You're naive. I'm not. I'm observant. There's a difference, Alaina. Did you want to kill that man, or did you want to protect your friend?" James is quiet. "Intent matters," Alaina says. "You're not a murderer. You're a man who made a hard choice. In a hard moment, that doesn't define you, doesn't it? What defines you is what you did after. You walked away from the violence, Built a life based on peace. That's who you are. James looks at her for a long moment. Something complicated passes through his eyes. Relief, maybe, or hope. Or the beginning of something neither is ready to name. "You should be more careful," he says quietly. "About who you trust. I'm careful enough, are you?" Alaina steps closer. Close enough to see the gold flecks in his eyes. Close enough to smell pine and leather and smoke. "I trust you, James Donovan. Whether you trust yourself or not." James's breath catches. His hand comes up like he's going to touch her. Then drops. "We should gather your plants," he says. His voice is rough. "Before it gets dark." "Yes," Alaina says. But neither of them moves. They stand there in the meadow, close enough to touch but not touching, until finally James turns away. "Come on," he says. The valley's waiting. The well-dressed man arrives in Animas Forks on Tuesday. He steps off the supply wagon looking lost. Suit too fine for a mining town. Shoes too clean, hair too neat. Everything about him screams city. Mrs. Peterson notices him first. She's got a sense for strangers. "Has to, running a boarding house. Can I help you?" She asks from the porch. The man takes off his hat. He's handsome in a polished kind of way, mid-30s, clean-shaven. The kind of face that's never seen hard labor. "I'm looking for someone," he says. His accent is Southern, educated. "A young woman, Alaina Jenkins. I was told she might be staying here." Mrs. Peterson's expression closes like a door slamming. "Who's asking?" "My name is Edward Whitmore. I'm an old friend from Tennessee." That's when Alaina walks out of the boarding house, sees him, and goes pale. "Edward?" The man's face lights up. "Alaina, thank God. I've been looking everywhere for you." Mrs. Peterson looks between them, sees Alaina's expression, steps protectively closer. "Do you know this man, Miss Jenkins?" Alaina's voice, when she answers, is tight, controlled. "Yes, he's my former fiancé." The words drop like stones. Edward Whitmore smiles, warm, genuine, nothing threatening about it, which somehow makes it worse. "I need to speak with you," he says to Alaina, "privately, please." "Just 5 minutes." Alaina looks like she'd rather face another bear, but she nods. They walk to the edge of town, out where the buildings end and wilderness begins. Mrs. Peterson watches from the porch, ready to intervene if needed. "Why are you here?" Alaina asks. No preamble, no pleasantries. Edward's smile fades. "To apologize and make things right." "There's nothing to make right. We're done. I made that clear when I left. I know, and you were right to leave. Alaina, I was—" He stops, starts again. "I was threatened by you. By your intelligence, your knowledge, your passion for your work. I tried to make you smaller, so I could feel bigger. That was wrong." Alaina stares at him. This isn't what she expected. "I've spent the past 6 months thinking," Edward continues, "about what you said, about how I dismissed your studies, called them a hobby, laughed when you talked about writing a reference. I was cruel, and I'm sorry. Edward, let me finish, please." He reaches into his jacket, pulls out a leather-bound journal, hands it to her. Alaina opens it. Her breath catches. It's a medical journal, published in Philadelphia. And there on page 15 is an article, "New Applications of Arnica montana in Frontier Medicine." The author is listed as A. Jenkins, Tennessee. "You published my research," she whispers. "Your research deserved to be published. I knew people in Philadelphia, medical circles. I sent them your notes. They were impressed." Edward's voice is earnest now, urgent. "Alaina, you were right about everything. Your knowledge is valuable, important. You should be working with doctors, not hiding in a mining town. That's why I'm here." He takes a breath. "There's a position at the Philadelphia College of Medicine. They're looking for someone to document frontier botanical applications. It comes with a stipend, research funding, access to their library. And I've arranged for you to have full credit on all published work. Your name, your discoveries." Alaina's hands are shaking. This is everything she wanted. Recognition, resources, a chance to do real work that could change medicine. "Why?" she asks. "Why would you do this?" "Because you deserve it. And because I want to prove I'm not that man. I'm not asking you to come back to me. I'm offering you a professional partnership. Colleague to colleague, nothing more." He pauses. unless you wanted more. Which I would understand if you didn't. Alaina's mind is spinning. 6 months ago she would have jumped at this, would have sold everything she owned for this chance. But 6 months ago she hadn't met James Donovan, hadn't found the hidden valley, hadn't started to build a life in these mountains. That felt more real than anything in Tennessee. I need time to think, she says. Edward nods. Of course. I'm staying at the boarding house. Take all the time you need. He turns to go, then stops Alaina. I saw some men earlier, surveyors. They were asking about land ownership in the high country, specifically about someone named Donovan. Alaina's stomach drops. What did they want? I don't know, but they didn't seem friendly. I thought you should know. He tips his hat and walks back toward town. Alaina stands at the edge of the wilderness, the journal in her hands, and feels like her whole world is tilting.